Hello, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Dreaded Archer podcast. I'm here today with the Archer Steph. How you doing today?
Oh, great. I really enjoyed that intro. That's the first podcast I've been on that's done that. That was so cool.
Hey, it's brand new.
I liked it.
Oh yeah, during season one, I just kind of just got on. I had no idea how to do a podcast, so I would just get on and start talking. And then what would
Right.
happen is, whatever guest I would have on, we would talk for like 30, 45 minutes, and I forgot to hit record. So we have to start over again. So my brother goes, "Hey man, you should probably get an intro so you know when to hit record." I was like, "I got you."
That's a great idea. There you go. See, we're learning.
I know, right? Hey, I'm building this plane as I'm flying it, so that's kind of
Huh.
what I'm
As
doing.
long as it doesn't crash and you keep flying, then you're doing good.
Exactly, just got to keep gliding. Oh man, so Steph, hey, tell the people a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Okay, so I am up in Washington State, the Great Pacific Northwest. I started shooting my bow when I was about 12 years old. I got into it because my dad wanted me to go hunting with him, and I had no interest in shooting a gun with him. And so I was like, no, I'm not going to do that, but I'll shoot a bow. So then he had an oh crap moment. I got to go figure out how to shoot a bow now because he'd never done it before. So it was kind of cool because we got to figure it out together. We started shooting and we got into bow hunting. And then pretty soon, before you know it, we were running our own archery club and getting other people into it. And I started working at my local archery shop. And so that experience as a kid actually grew into what I do now. I work for the National Archery in the Schools program. So I get lots of kids and teachers started in archery. And then on the side, I also run my own camps and lessons and stuff up here. So a little bit of everything archery in my life right now.
Oh, nice. So, like, did you like know anybody that shot archery, or did you just like come up with that at the top of your head? Like, yeah, I'll go hunting if we shoot a bow.
See, so I'm still one of the cool people that did it before the Hunger Games or Brave came out.
Okay,
But looking back, I don't know if it was my excuse not to go hunting with my dad or if it was like, I really don't want to shoot a gun, but I will shoot a bow. Like I couldn't tell you anymore which one it was. But no, it was all on my own. I just didn't want anything to do with guns, and the bow was the only other option.
right. See, I took my daughter hunting for the first time this year, and she's not old enough to pull a bow back just yet. In South Dakota, you got to have I think 40 pounds, and she's nowhere near pulling 40 pounds yet.
Hmm.
So, I took her out, and I had my 30. I gave her my 30-06. I'm like, boom, we're gonna go hunting. We didn't go to the gun range, so she doesn't know how a 30-06 sound at all. Just kind of just we winging it. So I had a little tripod, and a doe comes out, and she just wow puts it down, and she looks at me. She goes, "I never want to shoot this gun again." She goes, "I only want to do bow. I only want to go hunting with a bow." So,
That's awesome though.
oh
But
yeah,
maybe she'll be like me and someday she'll come back to it.
I don't think she will. She does not like guns.
Okay.
She doesn't like the sound of them, and she's like, "I'll go hunting with you, but only if I can shoot my bow." And I was like, "Well, let's keep practicing and get you stronger so you can pull that 40 pounds back."
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
So
So
that's
how old is she?
she's 9.
Okay. She'll be there before you know it, probably around 11 or 12.
Oh yeah, exactly. And she's even brought up like, "Can I use a crossbow?" And I'm like, "You could, but South Dakota won't allow you to."
Right. You'd have to go over east somewhere.
Yeah, you gotta go. Yeah, go eat somewhere. But I don't know. So we'll get it figured out. But that was kind of like her. She kind of had the same story as you. Like, I don't want to shoot a gun anymore. Like, well, you didn't even shoot a gun. You was like this straight archery.
My first time shooting a gun was just because for Hunter Ed I had to do the field day.
Right.
And so I had to go. My dad was like, "We're going to practice first before your field day." So we went out with some friends and just shot some clay pigeons. And then I did my field day. And then I probably didn't shoot another gun until I was in college after that.
Oh wow. So you're just strictly archery. Get it done.
Strictly archery until college, and there wasn't enough time to go elk hunting. And then I got into duck hunting.
Oh, nice. So you know when you hear about elk hunting, you always hear about states like Wyoming, Colorado. I just kind of like found out that Washington had elk.
We do.
Yeah. So how is elk hunting out in Washington?
So I haven't done it in the last couple years, but I've done it before. There's a lot of um, deadwood blowdowns all over. It's a lot of undergrowth and big growth. It's it's different, but they are a lot lower than they are when you go to Colorado or Wyoming, and you have to be at 11,000 feet. We might be at 4 to 7 here.
I need elk at that level. Last year I went to Colorado and I think we were at like 12 or 13. And
Oh, you
after
were
making
high.
yeah, so after making like I say about a 14-hour drive,
Hmm.
yeah, about 14 hours. And then not no rest, nothing, just literally getting there, boom, getting out the car, hopping out, start hunting. I thought I was going to die. Yeah.
That altitude will get you right away. At
Oh
least you
yeah.
drove though, so that kind of helped you acclimate a little bit.
It wasn't enough. No, we literally, me and my boy Rex, we started walking and we got a probably about 30 or 40 minutes in. And I looked at him, I go, dude, I'm gonna die. I'm not gonna make it. I think I'm gonna pass out. And he was like, let's go back to the car and let's just go to camp, set up and just chill and get up in the morning. I was like, sound like a plan to me.
Yeah, you need at least 1 to 2 days when you're going to somewhere because my dad bought a outfitting business in Colorado, so I've gone down a couple years now,
Oh, nice.
and you need a couple days to acclimate, especially I'm at sea level here. And so there's definitely proof that building up your cardio before going down there helps a lot. Drink all your water, buy some of those oxygen cans from Safeway. They
At the
sell
gas
those there
station.
because they know people are gonna run out of air.
It's funny because we actually went to, I think it was either a Safeway or a 7-Eleven. And I remember looking at like right by the checkout. I was like, why do they got cans of oxygen here? And the lady goes, are you
And you're
here
like,
to
it's
hunt?
so light.
Yeah. The lady goes, are you here to hunt? I was like, yeah. And she goes, are you from here? I'm like, nope. She goes, you might need one of these. I bought two.
Did you use them? No. Yeah. I've always
I
wondered if
didn't.
they work or not.
I did not use them, and it wasn't that I didn't use them because I just like, nah, never mind. I shouldn't have bought that. I forgot they were in the back seat. Yeah, so I totally forgot. But
Well,
so you got into hunting. So what got you into coaching?
so it was kind of just a timing thing. So we were driving over twice a week to leagues at our local archery shop, but it was 20 minutes away. And so my dad was like, well, I'm tired of driving over there 2 to 4 times a week. So why don't we just start something here in town? But to start something, we had to become instructors. So we went and
Right.
got our USA level 1 certification together. I was 15 at the time. And basically, we just started a Joad club and got a bunch of kids together. And the other kids weren't very competitive. I was, but it was just a lot of fun. And then a lot of just adults and community members got into archery because of it too. And honestly, when I left for college, my bow rarely came out of the case. I think I went and shot twice when I was there. So I thought archery was honestly done in my life. And then I graduated. I came back home. I was working at a bank. I went to school in Montana. So,
Okay.
funny story, I went to school in Montana because they had a non resident student hunting license.
And didn't use it.
Well, I used it once, and then I realized, okay, I need a job to go hunting. So then I had to go get a job so I could afford to go hunting. But then once you have a job, you don't have any time to go hunting anymore.
Right.
So perks of being a freshman college student. And then the next year they raised the license prices, so I couldn't afford to go hunting anymore, anyways. So it was just a catch 22 I was stuck in. But so I got into duck hunting, so that was cool. But then after college, I came back to Washington. I was working at a bank. I was like, this really sucks. I hate counting people's money and being inside all day. And on Facebook, I randomly saw a friend had shared a job opening for the Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife to be their archery education coordinator. And I was like, well, I just graduated with my business management degree. I've got that. I was like, I have 5 years experience of being an archery coach. Those kind of go pretty well together. I could do that. So I filled it out on Facebook, the job application. That still gets me. I was laying in bed and I filled it out on Facebook and I got the job. So if you know how to put words into an application, you don't have to be anywhere special to do it. So and then COVID hit. I worked down there for about 2 years running all of Oregon's archery education programs for kids and adults. And COVID hit, and they were talking about shutting down the bridge between Washington. My bad.
It's all good.
They shut down. They were talking about shutting down the bridge between Washington and Oregon, and I was like, I can't be away from my family anymore. So I moved back home, and I was able to get the job with NASP. And so that's what I do now. Is I work with the National Archery in the Schools program, which was one of the programs I managed in Oregon. But now I work on the Western region for 15 states, I think, rather than just the state of Oregon.
Oh wow. So what all does your job entail as far as like when it comes to is it just archery or is it just it's hunting or is it it's all outdoors, encompassed together?
So it's not so much hunting anymore. So when I worked for Fish and Wildlife, it was more of the get people into archery, to get them into bow hunting, to sell licenses. Now the National Archery in the Schools program is based on in-school curriculum, including archery. So we train school teachers to instruct their students in class to how to shoot bows. We use Genesis bows, Genesis arrows, and they actually shoot in school. We just had our national tournament in Kentucky last week, and I think there were over 12,000 students there.
Oh
So
wow.
it's big. Yeah. But my job, I'm the social media person. I do most of our marketing. I send out all the press releases, and that's kind of like bigger parts of my job. And then I also run our student contributor program. So I'm working with 11 kids right now who each month they send me essays based on, what archery does for them, something they're learning, just so that it's written by kids for kids, which is kind of
Right.
cool. And it was interesting because when we asked them, I had the president of International Bow Hunters Education. I had her come and do a talk to all my contributors, and she was like, how many of you would be interested in hunting? Well, first she said, how many of you hunt already? And one kid raised his hand, and she said, well, how many of you would like to learn about it? And all of them raised their hands. So this program, even though it doesn't deal with hunting directly, it's how we get kids interested in doing stuff outdoors. It's really amazing.
Oh yeah, now that's pretty cool. Like I went to a school down. I'm originally from Texas, and I moved to
Okay.
South Dakota later in my life. But back home, there was really no one to teach us about hunting. So like,
Right.
unless you came from a family that hunted, there was no one there. And like, I didn't even know archery was the thing until I got to college. You know what I'm saying? I
Right.
thought people that shot bows was like it was like a niche. Like, oh, that's pretty cool. You learned something that's really not, useful today. So we got guns. And as I got older, I realized, oh, people do hunt with bows and all that. But I've never had anyone introduce archery to me. I kind of found it on my own. But I think it's pretty cool that you have, a program that introduce kids to like archery. Like that's kind of why I started the podcast is so like in my community, hunting is really not a big thing, and archery is definitely not. It's not on the map. So like when I tell people like, yeah, I hunt and I archery hunt, they're like, oh wow. And I've gotten a lot of my friends that I grew up with, like gotten them into archery hunting just from just talking about my experiences in it.
Yeah, that's all it takes sometimes. Because even so I run a lot of ladies' nights and ladies' events up here. And what started as like, I grew up and there was one other girl that used to shoot with me. So when I was 13 to 20, I'd see other ladies at shoots, but there was only one other girl locally. And now I run these ladies' nights and I have 30 plus women that are interested in coming, that either have their own equipment or they want to learn to shoot. So there's definitely an interest out there if someone's just willing to show everyone else what to do. Or all it takes is just asking. You're like, hey, you want to go shoot? Heck yeah, I do.
Let's do it.
Yeah, it's really awesome. And then it's such a tight knit community too. So I'm a competitive archer just as I am a bow hunter. And you'll travel around. Like I was just in Reading a couple weeks ago for the National Safari tournament, something like that. And you're seeing archers from all over the US, and you see the pro archers and they're standing there on the practice line and they're talking to you. You're seeing people that you know from other states. And it's so much fun because it's one of the only sports that you can be best friends with the people you're competing against. And like you're
Yep.
cheering them on. You're like, you hit it, you hit foam, good job. Versus like someone would be pissed off if you got a field goal or something.
Yeah, see, I had to learn that the hard way. Well, first, my archery range that I go to here, they have ladies' nights and they have youth nights, and they bring the Boy Scouts in, the Girl Scouts in, and I go out and volunteer. And you realize a lot of, I mean, it's fun when you introduce a kid to a bow or somebody who's never shot a bow, an adult, anything, they love it, and it's just a fun
Yeah,
night. So we got like I don't know if you have you ever seen the little like the mushroom tip, not maybe mushroom, but the marshmallow tip bows or arrows.
for dodgeball.
Gosh, no, these are. I mean, we've never used them for dodgeball, but
Okay,
they're like arrows, but they have like a little. It looks like a marshmallow at the tip.
so when we're done here, go look up archery tag because it's
Okay,
like paintball but with bows.
I gotta check that out.
Yeah.
But we have those, and we're shooting out these little targets and everything, and everybody loves it, and it's just fun. But you hit the nail on the head when you said archery is the only sport where you cheer for your competitor. So last February, I entered my first tournament. It was the Rushmore Rumble out in Yankton, South Dakota.
Oh, you went big for your first tournament.
I went big. It was the first one. It was like it was here. It wasn't that I went big. I'm not gonna say like I went. I was going big or going home. It was the only one that was going on like right after COVID kind of died down a little
Right,
bit. So we had it in Yankton. So I'm like, I am
right.
signing up, and I'm literally an hour away from Yankton. So I'm gonna go. So I come from a background of, track and field, football. If you're my competitor, we ain't friends, we ain't talking, none of that. So I come in and I'm like I'm getting back in my competitive mode. So I come in and I'm just I'm gonna win this thing. So I get all my stuff, and we get on the line to shoot, and I shoot my first end, and everybody's like, "Hey man, that was a really good end." And I hear everybody talking to each other, and I'm like, "Why everybody talking? We competitors. We supposed to be going at it." And after like two ends, now I'm just like, yeah, I'm helping. I'm trying to. I can't give any pointers. I'm not a coach. I'm brand new at this archery stuff, but I'm taking notes from everybody else. People
Yep.
critiquing me. Hey, do this different. Do this. Do that. I'm loving it, and
Well, listen to that, but never do it in the middle of a tournament.
I learned that the hard way. I learned it the hard way. So I'm listening to all these like people critiquing me and all this stuff, and there's like this one guy, and he's just like stonewall, just
Mm.
not talking to nobody. People are like, "Hey, guy, good shot," and he's just like, like does not want to talk to anybody. He didn't really do that good, anyways. But everybody's having fun, and after the tournament, I'm thinking to myself like, this is a really cool community. Like, this is my first tournament or my first competition. No one knows me. I don't know anybody, and everybody's just so welcoming and like I don't know. And that's when I realized like archery is what I love. Like this is something that I really love to do, and the people are just like super nice.
And it's so easy because indoors is a little different, but when you're shooting outdoors, you're spending 4 to 8 hours with a group of people. You get to know a lot of the people you're shooting with
Hmm.
really well.
Oh, exactly. I mean, even indoors, like there was one guy, me and him got to talking, and he played football at Nebraska, and then we got talking about his family and his kids. He was having his first kid, and we got talking about that. And surprisingly, we actually had a similar story where we were both, collegiate football players, and after we got done playing, like I dealt with something like an identity crisis almost. Like I didn't know who I was after I got done playing football.
Hmm.
And he pretty much had the exact same thing. And his wife's brother introduced him to archery. And that's what kind of got him out of that depression and kind of getting that little competitive edge a little bit and just kind of I don't know, almost finding a new identity almost. And I was
Okay.
like, hey, like that's kind of how I got into archery. Like I got into this little depression. I wandered into an archery shop, met a guy. He kind of showed me bows and all this stuff. And next thing you know, I'm buying a bow, I'm buying arrows, I'm shooting targets and all that. And I was like, this is it. Like
And you're hooked.
Even though I wasn't competing with anybody while I was, buying my bow, I still felt like it slowly starting to feel that void that I had in my life. And me and this guy got to talking, and like right now we're like best friends. And it's just pretty cool because we came to meet each other through archery.
Yeah. It's amazing some of the people you meet out there. And you never know what their backgrounds are going to be either. You could be shooting with someone who's in the CIA or someone who's a plumber.
Right.
And you know what? That doesn't tell you who's going to shoot better either. Um, so I mean, it's not similar. I didn't have an identity crisis, but I used to be probably the shyest kid in school growing up. And it wasn't until archery that I really started becoming more confident and more outgoing. And I credit it all back to just having archery in my life growing up. And archery is different than a lot of other school sports too, because it's a lifelong sport. So golf,
Right.
archery, tennis, those things that you could just pick up and go play on the weekends. Rather, I mean, you could throw a football, but it's a little harder to go play a game of football than it
Yeah,
is to go
it's
shoot.
not the same.
It's not the same. But so that's what's cool about the in-school program too, is it's not always the athletes that come and find our program and really excel with it. It's the geeks, the artistic kids, the kids who read a lot. And they all become really close bonded friends after they find archery. So it's really just amazing to watch new people come to the sport, whether it's in NASP or it's they want to go bow hunting or they just start shooting at the local club, and they just you watch their personalities change, and it's pretty cool.
Oh, definitely. And that's actually what got me, like what kind of pulled me to your pages. I was going through Instagram and you had posted, I think it was a TikTok or I can't remember, but you had posted something about it was somebody you was working with and how like built their confidence up. And I was like, like that's pretty neat. Like, because I got the same story. Like, archery helped me find my confidence back. And I was like, so I started following you, and it seems like all your posts I mean, it's just encouraging people to go out and shoot a bow, go out and have fun. And I was like, I gotta talk to her, like, because she's doing something that I want to do. I want to help people find themselves, or find their confidence, or get that athletic edge back, get that competitive edge back. And I feel like archery is where it's at.
Yeah, totally. And like to explain what my page is to the people, it's a lot of dorkiness to make myself relatable, but I sneak in a little bit of archery information to help everyone be feel more confident their first time on the range. I definitely aim to talk more to the people who are either just beginning or looking to get into archery, and it's the information that you may not know that you don't know, and I'm trying to give it to everyone
Right.
beforehand, but in an entertaining way. So yes, it's okay to laugh at me. I'm laughing at myself. I think my videos are hilarious because of how bad they are. I do have to say, I went all the way back the other day and I was like, okay, I have gotten better in the past 2 years. Like the acting, I stopped dancing. I pretty much said no more dancing.
No, you gotta
So
keep
the
dancing.
acting, no, no more dancing. It's so bad. Archery is my sport, not dancing.
Hey, but you had a post the other day, and I couldn't stop. I couldn't stop from laughing because it was so true. It's like people ask me like what kind of arrows do I buy or something. It's like I bought four different type of arrows this year. It's like skinny, fat. You named them off, and I was like, that's true. And like archery is one of those sports where you got an arrow for every single thing you do. You know,
Or you don't.
oh, you don't.
You, well, you could or you could not. It
Right.
depends on how into it and how much you want to mess with things. Because you might have the one guy who picks up just a bunch of cheapest arrows and he goes and does everything. Does money make things work better? Sometimes. Does the most expensive stuff make stuff work better? Not always. Not usually. So it really just depends on what your situation is. Because like I've got a friend who's doing everything with me on a much lower budget, and she does just fine. She keeps up. Does it make it more entertaining if you can sit there and mess with stuff? Absolutely. Archery is entirely a mental sport. So if you can change one thing and tell your mind, oh, it's going to be better because I switched to skinny arrows for outdoors. They're way lighter than my fat arrows. So this is just going to fly so much faster. Well, now your brain's like, oh, yeah, We got
Right.
this. And then for a little bit, you're going to shoot better. And then it's going to go downhill again, and you got to change something else and trick your mind. But oh, it's entirely all in your head.
Oh yeah, archery is like golf. Like when I like, you're working on your swing. You're driving out the tee box, and when you're by yourself, everything works fine. But then when you have two or three people with you, like, hey, change this. So you change that, and now your whole swing is off. Hey, do
Yep.
this. That's how archery is. Like you said earlier, don't listen to people when you're on the line at an archery competition or tournament because it will mess you up. Hey, why you close this eye? Well, you shouldn't close your eye at all. Hey, you should be holding your hand like this, and like you shouldn't be finger punching your trigger. You should be using back tension. It's like okay, as you start tweaking stuff, and while you're flying the plane, next thing you know, you're going down. Stick to
Yeah.
what you know.
When you're on that tournament line, stick with what you know, leave the changes to the practice range for sure.
Exactly. And then you was talking about you don't need the most expensive stuff will not make you a better archer, and just because you have cheaper stuff will not make you a worse archer. I have a story. You'll love this.
All right.
So every once in a while I'll volunteer time at my archery shop. So it's owned by a couple. They've been doing it for like 25, 30 years. So sometimes they can't handle it by themselves. They get a little busy. So a lot of the members, we go out there, we hang out, and if someone comes in, we help them out. So this young cat come in, he's probably I say 19, 20.
Okay.
Put him there. So he's like, I want to buy a bow. All right, cool. So I was like, have you ever shot a bow before? Nope, never. Watch it on TV, watch it on YouTube. I know what I want. Oh, okay. I was like, well, what we usually do is if someone's new to archery, you kind of want to get them towards more of like a budget bow. Hey, how about you try something that's medium range, good budget friendly bow. Get into it. If you like it, then maybe later down the road you get something else. So I started showing them like the mission bows, the bear bows. Nope, I want Matthews. Say, oh, all right, well, you're the customer, sir. So he goes and he buys. I think it was like the BXR one. Not, it's like the
Mm,
one of the newest Matthews that it came out. Buys that bad
yeah.
boy. Boom, cool. So trying to get him, you know, finds arrows. He wants full metal jackets. All right, cool. Get you that. So get him all set up and everything, and he immediately wants to go to 20 yards to start shooting. I was like, no, how about we get you sighted in at 5, 10, and we can work our way to 20. Nope. I just bought a $1,500 bow. I'm going to shoot at it. It can shoot 20 yards. Oh, okay, man. All right, cool. His first shot goes straight in the wall in the back, like misses the target, goes right into the wall. Next arrow goes straight into the wall. And I'm like, trying to get him to stop, but he won't stop at all.
You're like,
So
it's not sighted in, man.
no, it's not sighted in, but he keep yelling at me. So finally, I was like, "Hey, chill out. Let's how we bring the target closer." So he finally get him sighted in at 20. He has some groups that are probably about this size.
Okay.
I'm go-
Basketball size.
yep, I'm going outside. I was like, "You're not even sighted in at 20. I'm going outside." So you the customer, man. Whatever. Goes outside. Immediately starts shooting at 60 yards. He lost a half dozen of full metal jackets. all
And for
all in the, all in the
I was
dirt.
just I was gonna say, for those who don't know, those are not cheap arrows.
No, not cheap at all. So he comes back in, buys another half dozen, goes back outside. 6 shots, 6 arrows, gone. You're not finding them. They're in the dirt, buddy. So he comes in and yells at me because I sold him a bow that won't shoot 60. And I'm like, no, 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 buddy. It's not the bow.
Yeah.
It's you. And he couldn't get in his head that just because you bought an expensive bow doesn't mean it's going to shoot for you. You are the shooter. The bow is just a tool. You have to
Yeah.
operate. It's the operator that makes the bow do what it do. And you didn't even do what you needed to do to get it set up.
Yeah, it doesn't take much to sight it in.
No.
Once your 20s in, you can pretty much guesstimate everything to at least be close, but he just had to have he needed a little more patience with you is what he
Oh,
needed.
exactly, and I
Yeah.
wanna say he shot that bow for about a month, and then I went in, maybe, like a month and a half after I had ran into this guy. He had returned the bow and had it for resale at the shop. He was done with it. I was like, "No, like, you didn't even give it a chance to flourish, man."
So my steps when I send someone to go buy a bow, I usually say, okay, figure out your budget first, because you know what, some guys around here we have a lot of Navy guys, and so they can afford to just go buy a nicer bow, and it's not, you know, if you give a pro a $400 bow and you give them a $2,000 bow, a pro should be able to shoot both bows equally. But
Right,
is one bow smoother, faster, quieter than the other one and more fun to shoot because it's more comfortable? Absolutely. So I usually say set your budget, go in and shoot 3 bows that are in your budget. Figure out which one you like, go with that one, take a lesson. Work with an instructor. Don't just go out to 60 yards because the bow is not just automatically set up for you. That's not how that
but
works.
it should be. It's this expensive bow.
It's the expensive bow. It comes pre-set up, right?
It
No,
should
because he probably picked all the expensive gear to put on there too. Oh, that's sad. That's too bad.
Oh, yeah,
That's
so
that's always one of my goals too. I'm like, never be the reason that someone quits archery. I try
right.
to keep it fun, entertaining, and safe because I've had people who slap their arm once and they're like, I'm not shooting that again. I had when I was an instructor, um, try not to touch people. And this wasn't in a sexual way. It was in a she had just had brain surgery, and it was a young kid, so the hat brim she was wearing was getting in her way. So one of the instructors grabbed her hat and took it off her head. Well, she had a shaved head and never came back because she was so embarrassed that all the other
Oh,
kids.
man.
And so it's just like you really have to be, as an instructor, really careful that you are thinking of all the things that could happen. You have to
Right,
watch your tone, you have to watch what you say, you have to watch what you do, and you have to plan to keep things entertaining, to make sure that you're providing something to these people that are coming to see you.
right, and, when I started helping people shoot, I had to kinda tone my voice down because, like I said, I come from a sports background, so
Right.
you kinda wanna, "Hey," you wanna, as a coach, "Hey," and you wanna don't wanna freak anybody out or scare 'em, so it's like, I need to calm down. I'm working more with, like, little kids, or, you know, normally, like, a guy like my size will be like, "Hey, man, chill out. I hear you." But, I don't wanna yell at a kid and he freak out like, "Hey, he's yelling at me."
Right. Right.
But, yeah, you do gotta change your tone and you gotta have a different approach, when it comes to archery because it's something that you really have to be patient. You gotta be patient as a instructor or a coach, and if you're an archer learning, you gotta be patient with your coach as well.
Well, and that's kind of the fun part though, because not everyone learns the same or shoots the same.
Right.
So and you know, I've been shooting for over 10 years now. And so I've picked up a few things on the way, but it's not just my experience because you could go to your best friend and you could say, hey, how do I shoot? They could be like, oh, you need to do this. And they're like, well, why do I need to do that? How do I do that? That person's not going to know how to explain it in words that you're going to understand. With me, I've been doing it for so long, I know exactly what to say. And if you don't understand, I know exactly how to show you. And if you see it and you still don't get it, I've got other ways that I'm going to keep showing you versus the one person, your friend, who's going to get frustrated with you. And so that's the reason that you go get help from someone. They don't have to be certified, but just who actually has spent time. It takes that's the skill set that an instructor has that you're learning from. And that's why they're the best person to be able to help you.
Exactly. So, do you strictly just, like, coach, like, does anybody get into archery, or is it, like, hunters or, like, target shooters, or you kinda just all across the board?
So I tell people I'm not going to get you to the Olympics. My specialty is beginner archers or people who are struggling. I'm going to help you find your confidence. I'm going to teach you what you need to know to get started and do it on your own. And if you're struggling with something, I'm going to help you find the consistency and watch you so you can figure out what you're doing wrong.
I got you. So do you strictly just work on just like shooting, or do you like teach them like maintenance, like how to install, their sights and
The bow shop does more of that. I will do a little bit. I've got a bow press, so if we need to move their peep around or twist a string or something, we can do that. But for the most part, I'm definitely more on form.
oh nice. See, I want to learn how to do all that stuff. Like I love taking I love going to the shop because I go out there. It's a fun time. You got a lot of old timers there. You got a lot of young cats that are there. So everybody's sharing hunting stories and just
Yeah.
everybody's having a good time at the shop. But I do want to learn how to do a lot of that stuff on my own. It seems like it'd be more efficient. Like if I'm out in the field and something happens to my bow, then I don't have to drive to a shop and get it all fixed.
They make little bow presses that you can put in your tailgate, not your tailgate, in your ball hitch. I'm sure they're not cheap, or they make the little field bow presses too. I don't know if you've
See,
seen those.
I've seen the field bro press because I can't remember who makes it, but they make a bow that it's it comes with a field press, but
Interesting.
I've not seen the ones that they go on your trailer hitch.
Your
That's pretty
hitch.
cool.
Yeah, it was interesting. They had one parked right next to one of the Targets in Reading with like flyers, so they were advertising their product.
Yeah,
It was perfect. I was like, that was pretty smart actually. And it was great because it was even one guy was like, oh, I could just park my truck in my garage, like pull it in backwards, and I could sit there and work on my bow, and I don't need to build a bench or anything.
yeah.
So it's not like it's only a field bow press. It's just where you're mounting it, and then you don't have to worry about storing it. Your wife can't yell at you.
I might have to check that out because I'm one of my dreams is to have it's a little small shop in my garage, so people
Mm-hmm.
think I know what I'm doing.
Make it official.
Exactly.
I gotta
So,
say, I was just gonna say, working in the bow shop for a couple years, that was honestly one of the best ways to learn about everything because you're working with people, you're working with equipment, and you get to hear a lot about what's going on in the industry. So you're
exactly.
doing the right thing by volunteering out there.
There's like hanging out in the bow shop. You hear about stuff that different things is going on. No, different things that are trending in the industry and all that. Like as an archery coach, when someone comes to you and they bring up something they saw on YouTube, if like this might not help you. Like, how do you go about telling your client or your archer like you might not want to do that,
I tell them as long as it's not going to harm them, I say try it
right?
because again, unless if it's going to help them be more consistent, whether it actually does or it's just like a mental thing, awesome. A big thing for a while recently was the Bomar nose buttons, and those were a little bit controversial. Have you seen those?
I have not.
Okay, so it's a little spiky disc, and it goes right under your peep a couple inches, and you put it on the tip of your nose. And it's supposed to be a very light, pokey pressure, so you can just come to the same spot on your nose every time,
Mhm.
versus the string itself is just a little bit inconsistent. For years, people have been just tying in nose buttons when they need them. I don't shoot with one. I think they do help though, but it just depends on the person. A lot of my kids who have a hard time finding their anchor on their nose, I've been tying them in. So, some people say they hate them. Sometimes they work. Do I think it's worth $10? Not really. I think I can use a little bit of serving material and build it myself. Um, so yeah, I'm willing to let everyone try. And then like I've known people who are like, "Oh no, if I'm your coach, you can't go to anyone else. Like you're working with me, you need to listen to me, you need to say what you need to do what I say." And I'm like, "Learn as much as you can. Come see me. Go to a seminar. Go work with Joel Turner. He's from around here, so that's why I threw out that name. Um, go go take a lesson with other people. Like learn as much as you can and then sit there and figure out what works for you because you might go listen to three different people, you might try three different things and figure out the last one is the best one for you.
Right.
It's all about what's comfortable and consistent for you because even if you do something that's wrong, I'm doing air quotes wrong, but you can do it consistently, you could still technically be a good archer.
Right. Yeah,
Hmm.
and I totally agree with that because like I go to like different archery events all the time, like different 3D shoots, and I go to like the Total Archery Challenge and all that. And you run
Yeah.
into guys, and they're like, "Hey, you're shooting wrong," and it's like, "Yeah, but I just hit that elk at 80 yards in the 12 spot. I think I'm good." Like,
Yeah.
don't like, please don't talk. Like, I appreciate your advice, but don't tell me that I feel comfortable where I'm at. And I've ran into like a lot of a lot of people getting a lot of beginner archers that they they do what coaches want them to do. They listen, but they listen to everybody and they
Hmm.
listen every single time someone tells them something. So they're out shooting. Hey, you should do this, and they do. Hey, you should do this, and they do it. And then by the end of the day, they can't hit anything. It's like I'm all mixed up in head, and I always tell them if you're doing something that works, stick to it. And if you want to try something new, practice it a couple times before you go out and actually do it. You don't want to mess up your game. Like that's what messed up my golf game. That's why I no longer play golf. Too many people was in my ear. Now I
Yeah.
used to hit my driver 300 yards. Now I can't even drive a ball 150, 200 yards now. I hung up the club.
You need to go to Top Golf a little bit.
See, in
Go
South
make
Dakota,
it fun again.
we don't have top golf. We got
Oh, we don't either. I had to go to Vegas.
we got great shots. It's like the Walmart brand of top golf.
Hey, it works. But what you were just saying about like when you are at the practice range or at a tournament and everyone's telling you what to do, freaking tune them out. What they're saying does not matter. Pick one person a day that you're going to listen to and you're going to try for a while because everyone has a different opinion about every single thing. So listen to the one person, try it out. If it works, great. If it doesn't, move on and keep trying it. But don't let five different people sit there and pick on you because you're just going to get frustrated. They're going to get frustrated. And then archery is no fun.
Exactly. It's what they say. It's too many chiefs and not enough Indians. And it's like I just
Not
gotta
my
tune them
circus,
out.
not my monkeys.
Yep, you gotta tune it out. So like when you are say someone comes to you and they're just brand new to archery, but they're strictly really just worried about shooting like 3D shooting outdoors.
Mm-hmm.
How much does that training translate over to hunting? If you're a person that's used to shooting targets and everything, is it just an easy transition over to hunting?
Not necessarily because it's a lot of like, it takes being confident in yourself. And it's like one of the things I tell them is so you might be able to stand here and shoot 80 or 100 yards on a target. There's a lot of different things that goes into hunting between the time that you shoot that arrow and it actually reaches the animal. I was like, really, my comfortable zone when I'm hunting is 40 yards. If I have a perfect broadside, no wind shot with no obstacles, maybe I'll take a 50-yard shot, but that's my max when I'm hunting. I hear people that are like, oh yeah, I took a 100-yard shot on a deer this one time, and I'm like, you did what? I was like, that's just not ethical at all. If that deer took one step forward and you got a gut shot now, I was like, you're going to feel pretty bad to just be out there flinging arrows at an animal.
Right.
That's just me. I play it a little bit more safe, but that's what I try to encourage with other people. Um, Targets, no, not really, because you have to have the endurance. You have to have the mindset that, okay, I'm going out here to kill something now. And even last night, I had two different groups of 10 kids. I run kids camps all year long. And so one of the groups has been with me for almost a year. They kept coming back. They're pretty close friends now. The other one's only been coming for a couple months. Both of them brought up hunting on their own. In both groups, we've only done target archery. I bring out the 3Ds every 3 months when the club has a 3D going on. And one kid was like, if I ever hunt, I'm only going to go hunting for things that could kill me. And he was like, so I'm thinking about going bear hunting. And in my head, I was like, okay, that's a pretty big hunt. I was like, and deer and elk are going to taste a lot better, unless it's eating
Mm-hmm.
some good berries. Um, but I didn't say anything because for these kids, it's not my place. They need to go talk to their parents. And if their parents say they can come talk to me about hunting, then I'll open that conversation. But I lived in Oregon for a while in Salem, and we had people from Portland, and that was just like a big no-no to talk to kids about hunting.
Yeah.
So that's kind of stuck with me. But yeah, so 3D is like one of the best things you can do to really get those practice shots in, but nothing is really going to tell you what that true experience is until you take your first shot at an animal.
Oh, definitely. Hey, that kid is brave. I only want to hunt stuff that can kill me. Like, no,
I was like, okay,
not this
you better
guy.
carry a gun too.
You're right. It would be cool to like hunt like a lion or like a grizzly bear, but with a bow, I don't know. A grizzly, that's a
I
killer.
have no
That thing's a
desire.
killer. That's a killer.
Yeah, no kidding.
Oh
Yeah,
no.
I was like, you do you, kid.
Exactly, exactly. So about how many competitions do you do a year?
It really depends. Big ones, this year I just did Vegas and Reading. We go to quite a few local 3D shoots, or we travel around in some of those. I wanted to do a total archery challenge or a mountain archery festival this year, but all of my friends decided to book their weddings on those weekends.
Mm,
So I was like, all right, well, I guess I'll go next year. Like literally 3 weekends are taken up by weddings, and they're all on archery shoot weekends. So, and then up here we have Northwest Mountain Challenges, which is a similar thing. So I'm going to go to one day of one of those. But we're going to Top Pin out in Idaho, so that one will be fun too.
top 10. I gotta check that out. Yo, tack is fun. I went to my
Yeah,
first one last year, and I thought that I was in shape. Like all I'm doing is shooting 3D targets. I'm not elk hunting. I'm not doing any of that. And I probably like halfway through the first, and we also did the hardest courses. Halfway through, I'm like, I want to go have a beer, so I'm done. Like I'm done with this. I'm tired of shooting, and I just have to push through it. And my buddy, he's like, "Hey man, this is what elk hunting's gonna be like." He's like,
yeah,
"There's gonna be times where you're not gonna want to move forward, and you got to because the goal at the end." And like after the first day, I was like, I don't want to go back like the next 2 days. Like I'm done. But went back Saturday, went back Sunday, and it was like, all right, like now I kind of got an idea of what it's gonna be like the elk hunt up in the mountains. Like it's
yeah,
I need to probably get like mentally strong. It's not like physically I can push myself through it, but it's a mental thing. And I know a lot of people don't realize that like archery or just not even archery, just hunting period. It's a mental game.
mm-hmm.
And I just had to get through it. But this year, trying to sign up for TAC, it was it was crazy. My brother called me at 10 o'clock. That's when he called me at like 9:55. Opened the registration opened up at 10. At 10:05, it was sold out.
That's crazy.
We got in, but I had a buddy, him and his I think yeah, one of his coworkers or something. They were trying to get in. And he was like, "Hey, but we want to come up and go to tech." I'm like, "All right, cool." And he logged on at like I said, like 10:05, and he was like, "Bro, everything's sold out." I'm like, "I told you it was
Sorry.
an event. You better go to Big Sky in
Yeah.
Montana."
I
So,
My first year in Colorado, I actually had a panic attack, and
oh,
I will say I wasn't in as good of shape I should have been. Wasn't my first time in Colorado, but it was probably one of the higher trips. So this was 2 years ago now, and so my dad's got horses, but when you're the guide's daughter, you don't always get a horse. You're just told to go hike up the mountain.
right.
And so we hike out and we're checking out this new area. We're just walking over a bunch of dead logs. And my dad is a mountain goat. Like he's down there for months. So he's acclimated and he's just going. And his guides call him the goat because they're like, yeah, he's just up the hill and he's gone.
Boy,
And
he's the greatest
so
of all time.
and so we've learned usually that I walk in front of him to set the pace. Oh, but for some reason, not this time. And so we're going, and I'm stopping, and I'm breathing. He turns around, he's like, "You coming?" And I'm like, "I'm coming." And so I'm telling myself, like, go, go, go. But again, altitude, it's a crazy thing. It's real. And if you're not in shape, and like, I'm not out of shape, but I was not ready for this. And he's like, okay, instead of climbing all over those dead logs again, we're going to go up. We're going to go up to above the tree line. So it's tall, right? Above the tree line.
Okay.
And we're going to cut across and then cut down rather than climbing through all the trees again, thinking it'd be shorter, thinking it'd be easier, right?
Right.
I'm bear crawling up the shale because I'm like sliding back down as we're going up this. And I reach this flat spot and I start crying. I can't catch my breath. And it's not because I'm out of breath, it's because I'm sitting here having a panic attack because I think I'm about to die. And my dad's like all the way at the top of the hill, wondering, just thinking I'm sitting there having a break. And I turn around and he just sees like I'm crying. I'm like, I can't breathe. I'm sitting there
No down.
hyperventilating and I don't know what I'm doing. So he starts to walk towards me, but he slides all the way down the shale to me. Like, this is steep stuff. Like, I
Right.
couldn't walk straight up it. And so he's like, okay, Stephanie, you need to breathe. And I look at him and I'm like, screw you. Like, what do you think I'm trying to do here? And he's like, okay, I want you to sit there and I want you to think about wiggling your toes. There you go. That's great advice. Think about wiggling your toes because you're taking your mind off breathing. And so I'm sitting there, I'm wiggling my toes. He grabs my gun. I was rifle hunting at this time. And I actually grabbed my coat sleeve and I was trying to pretend it was a brown paper bag and like take deep breaths into it.
Right.
So I finally calm down. We get back, we finish the hike, and we both are just like, okay. So it's not like, one of the mental things is knowing your body and listening to it. Because when your body says, hey, it's time to stop, or hey, it's time to take a break, or hey, you're pushing me too hard, especially in those conditions, it's time to just take a break, drink some water, catch your breath, and keep going again because you're going to have a much easier time actually slowing your heart rate back down and getting back to a normal level than if you keep pushing yourself till you get past that breaking point that you're not going to be able to catch your breath and you're going to be done.
Right. See, that's
So
my issue because my brain is like programmed to like, hey, we're football players, so we got to push through it.
go, go,
Even, even
go.
even when your body says, hey, it's time to probably chill out. Yep, got to push through it. My body's saying this, but my brain, I'm gonna override it, and that could mess you up. Like there's some games where I've really gotten hurt doing that, and I've brought that over into the hunting world. Where it's like me and my brother, he killed a massive buck 2 years ago, and we're dragging it out of the creek and backpedaling and dragging, and my thighs start burning. And if he was here right now, he'd already be on the ground laughing because he remembers the story. And I just go, my thighs burning, and I had to stop to like let's just chill out. And I look over and he's just on the ground just laughing. He's like, bro, what happened to you? Your thighs are burning.
Aw,
Like, yeah, man, my thighs are burning, man. We
you're
drank.
heavy. That's a lot of dead weight.
It is. It's a lot of dead weight. And then we realized, oh, why don't you like you can go get the truck? Like I thought we were further out than we were, but the truck was literally like
Right
right
there.
there. So I went and got the truck and drove up and we put threw the deer on the back and drove off. But you gotta listen to your body. You got to, because
Yes,
if not, you end up in a bad situation.
absolutely.
Oh yeah. So as a competitor shooter, or not
Yeah.
shooter, archer,
Okay.
have you won any big championships? Like you walked around with any hardware?
Oh, I wish. And it's my dream to win one of those cool belt buckles. I did finally get my first big check. Um, and I didn't even know that was a goal of mine. Like, and I'm not saying it was a lot of money, but it was one of those big checks that they give you and they're
Mm-hmm.
like game show style. And so that was last year. I did my first series of indoor tournaments that were actually for money. And so I won two checks last year. And I called my bow shop and I was like, hey, you know how that one guy has his check hanging on the wall? And they're like, yeah. I was like, it would blow my mind if you guys would let me hang mine up there too. And they're like, duh, bring it in here. And so my
Oh,
check is hanging up at the bow shop now. So
they
that
let
was
you
pretty
keep it?
cool.
They let you keep
I
it?
oh, oh yeah, they let you. My name's on it. They make big ones that you get to bring home.
So check. So I used to work at a community college, right?
Yeah.
So we would do like donations. Like we would like, oh, this kid got a scholarship, and they would get this big check. Well, the kids thought they could take the check home. Like, nah, this is dry race.
So I will say when I worked in Oregon, I had a budget, right? So I did the same thing for my tournaments. But now that I know how exciting it is to win a big check, I'm like, no. Yeah, you order the big checks, give them to the people because
Yeah.
it's a good feeling.
So I'll keep that in mind because I plan on like doing a little 3D hunt or like a shoot or something. Haven't got it all put together yet, but I will keep the big check in mind.
Big check and belt buckles are two of the coolest things.
See, I have not entered tournaments because they were offering like the belt buckle was the prize.
No, like when you look at that belt buckle and it's got like the cool stuff all over it, it's got the tournament on it, it's got the year on it, and you're like a little bull rider. And you get to walk around and you get to strut off your belt buckle. I mean, that's pretty rad.
No, I've no, I agree with you now, but before I'm like, I would see a tournament. I'm like, all right, first prize belt buckle. I don't want no belt buckle. Then
They're expensive.
I went to the Rushmore Rumble, and I see these people walking in, and they got the
Strutting.
big belt buckle, or they got their quiver that's
Yeah.
customized with the belt buckle on it, and they're walking in. I'm like, I need one of them belt buckles now. I need
I
one.
know.
Either a belt buckle or like have like one of those WWE big championship belts that I could like walk. Now I would train for years if I knew I could win one of those at an archery tournament.
Yes. I know I never thought I wanted one either until I started like peer pressure. They have one. I need one of those now.
Yep.
So, because you can only have so many plaques hanging on your wall. I'd show you. I have a bucket back there that just has a lot of plaques in it.
A
It's
bucket of
really hard
plaque.
to. Yeah, it's like one of those 10 by 10 tote boxes that you put in the cube shelves.
Hey, there's a lot of people around here walking around now that would love a bucket full of plaques.
But they were back when I was a kid, and I was probably the only kid in my division, so they don't mean much to me. The one I won in Reading a couple weeks ago, that one there was like 20 some ladies in my division, and bow hunter freestyle is like that is not easy when you're shooting 101 yards and you have to stack pins. I don't know.
Ooh,
Have you had much with stacking yet?
no.
No.
Wait. What's stacking?
Okay, so do you shoot a 5 pin, single pin?
I shoot 5 pin.
5 pin. So what do you do when you have to shoot like a 70-yard target? Do you have a 70?
I got 60.
You got 60. So
I
do you
don't.
just aim
I
high?
don't. I aim high and hope for
Okay.
wishing.
So let's say you have an 88-yard target now. If you get into safari, you're going to have a 73, a 77, an 88, and a 101. Okay. So actually, the 101 is easier to explain. So here's your 5 pins, right? You got your
Okay.
20, your 30, your 40, your 50, and your 60. And you're going to take your 60 and you're going to put it on the dot. Now your 60, if you count backwards, 70, 80, 90, 100. So you're going to move your 60 up to where, hold on. You're going to move your 60 up to where your 20 was. And now you're going to put your 60 there. And that's called stacking. And so you're holding it above the target, but it gives you a reference point to where to move your pins. And then you shoot and you practice stacking to figure out, okay, I can actually, like, I only shoot 55 pounds. So I have to add a little bit more when I'm stacking, almost double my pins.
Right.
Some people, if you're shooting 60 to 70, that probably works pretty well for you because your pins are pretty equal distance apart. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. I've never heard that before.
Okay.
That's I gotta write that down. Stacking.
Pin stacking. Yeah. It's something that I've just started doing this year. It's been fun and difficult, and I only missed one of the targets at Reading, and it was 88, 83. I think it's 88 yards at the elk targets. So like one of the most famous shots that you always see the pictures of is the elk herd.
Right.
I missed it. I shot one under the belly and one over the back.
So what? What is safari? Well, before you answer that. So if you're shooting safari, you cannot use a single pin.
You can.
Oh, so then why don't people just use a single pin?
A lot do. There's more money in that division.
Oh, it's a different division.
Yeah. So single pin with glass and long stabilizers is called freestyle.
Right. Okay.
Okay. Um, tack will do a like modern bow hunter, so you can have a single pin that you can move, but no glass and no long stabilizers. And then you have bow hunter freestyle, which is your 5 pins. You can't move them, and you've got a short stabilizer. I competed in freestyle for a lot of years, and I realized I don't have the time or energy to put in to be super competitive. I'm doing this for fun and getting to socialize and meet people and spread my love for the sport. And there's a lot of mean people, unfortunately. Like archery's great until you get into some of these big competitions. And I just was
Hmm.
like, bow hunter freestyle over here is having a lot more fun than these freestyle people over here. They're more worried about hitting the middle. And like if they don't hit the middle, they're really frustrated. Bow hunter freestyle over here, we had the saying last year, we're like, dang 9 every time. And then someone would be like, better than a damn 8. And so like if you shoot a 9 or an 8, it sucks, but it's like expected. Freestyle, you got to be hitting that X every time.
Right.
So that's why I still shoot bow hunter freestyle, and I think it's more fun too because you actually have to think a little bit harder. Freestyle, you just have to remember to move your sight to the right spot on your tape.
Oh, okay. Yep. I normally just get in the bow hunter class, and that's I got my 5 pins, and I'm good. But also I don't shoot outside. I've only done one shoot. No, I've done two shoots, and they're all been inside at 20 yards. So not much thinking going on there.
But you've seen the people with the glass sights and the long stabilizers at those shoots
Yeah, the ones that they got stabilizers, just like
out
20
to
feet,
here.
20 feet
Yeah.
long and wrapped around their neck, and
Yep.
yep, I seen all that. Yep. But
Those are the freestyle guys.
now, one group of archers that they pretty much keep to themselves and they don't like anybody else are uh the traditional hunter, but not hunters, but
So
traditional
they do
archers.
like to be separate, the trad guys.
Yeah, trad guys.
Barebow,
Yeah,
trad guys, they like to be separate, but I will say they have the most fun.
they do get
They're
the
just
most fun.
they're like, dude, I hit an apple. And you're like, yeah, dude. And they're just like surfer boys almost, just like so excited for each other. And they're just like cheering and having a good time. Everyone else is a little bit more like, good job, but oh, bareboat, yeah.
oh well,
They're
yeah.
they're their own crew.
Come to South Dakota and meet some of the barebow guys. They don't want nothing to do with you. They keep to themselves, and if you shoot a compound, you might as well not even say good morning because they're not going to speak to you.
Oh, well, you
They
got some
are.
rude ones then.
Oh yeah, they actually it was it was in the middle of an end. Kid you not, middle of the end, and it was one of the guys. It's like his birthday. They started singing "Happy Birthday" in the middle of an end.
When he was shooting?
Yeah, once no, he was done. Once all the trad guys got done, and but the compound guys on the other end was still going, it was like screw them guys. They got to singing happy birthday, and I was like, wow, they don't care. And they did their own little thing, and that was it.
In Vegas last year, they would just like before the start of every round. So an end is like one end of a round, right?
Right.
So at the beginning of every round, they would be like, "Go Barebow!" And they were just like loud and cheering for each other. And then everyone else was just like quietly talking to their bail mates. But then you got Barebow over in this corner, and they're just so excited. And
Doing their
yeah, I
thing.
guess it just depends on the group. But
Yeah.
target archers, they're a little different.
So how is the Vegas shoot?
It's crazy fun.
You know, the year that I decided that I was going to do it, it was like COVID. So they had like all these like virtual Vegas shoots. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, how is that going? I mean,
It's
how
not
are
the
they going?
same.
It's not that like how are they going to regulate like the scores? Because like if I'm like at my archery shop, maybe the person that's scoring my thing like yeah, it's a 9, but it's a 10.
I mean, you do the same thing with your bail mates because the four of you have to call each other. So you kind of run into that there too, and you had to take the pictures of your targets and submit them.
Oh, see, I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm. So
Now,
after the end of every round, you had to submit a picture.
also then they would judge it on their side.
Hmm. I think they
You-
picked a random number and they would pull that person and then verify that they had the right number of holes in there.
I got you. I got you. The one tournament that I did, there was like the teenage, I think the teenage girls group. It was no games played. It was no games being played, and if anything looked close, they had a judge come out there, and there was, I think it's like two or three girls that were, I I would pay money to watch those girls shoot every day. It was one girl from Hawaii, and I kid you not, every time let that
Was this
she
at the Rushmore shoot?
yeah, what's my
So
rumble?
is she the girl that won Vegas?
I don't know if she went to Vegas or not. I think she was from Hawaii.
Because there's a 14-year-old that won Vegas the last 2 years, or she might be 15 now.
I couldn't tell you. I know she was from from Hawaii. I think she's a
Hmm.
Hawaii. But every time she let it go, it was money. X, pow, pow, pow. And it was her and like the two other girls. And I mean, they were bail mates, and they were going, well, two girls are bail mates, and then the other girl, she was like right next to them. So they were all like kind of together. But all three of them were just, I mean, it was money, just pap. And the girl that won it, her dad had like a spotting scope and had like the little camera thing on it. And she was shooting in, and she'd come back, and they were looking at it and like calculating. And she'd step back. Then the next time she get up, and it was just pop, 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 pop. I'm like, I'd pay good money to watch this. I mean, they were going, and you could tell they did not like each other. They like they had a
So they were
judge.
they were the freestyle division, and they're just not, the freestyle girls are not as friendly as most other divisions are.
Yep, because they had the long uh stabilizers and everything. Yeah, they were like, you could tell, like in my, from when I watching those three girls shoot, it looked like you can tell they go to each competition together, and maybe one might get first at one competition, the next one, and they
Hmm.
kind of change. I mean, it was, when it came to scoring, they all scored 300. It was
Right.
just a matter of X's. Who had the most X's
Absolutely.
at that point? They're gonna shoot 300 no matter what.
Hmm.
And I mean, I was very like, man, these
But it's interesting because it's usually the people that are newer to archery that are that way. They're a little more manipulative. They're a little bit more aggressive. You look at Paige Pierce and Toya and all of these ladies that have been in there for forever, and
yeah,
they're awesome. They're always smiling. They're having a good time up on their bale, and it's a totally different dynamic than a couple bales down with some of the younger girls.
yeah. And I mean, one even like at first she wasn't shooting with the blinder, and it
Hmm.
got to the point where while she was shooting, when the other girls was like stand there and kind of just watch her. So then she put the little
Blinder
flappy
down.
little blinder down. I was like, oh, this is getting real. Like I was like, I'm watching this. I'm glad I was done shooting for the day. I'm like, I gotta watch this right here because they are going at it, and it was pretty cool. Like them, and then there was some guys in the surprisingly, like I think they called them the pup division, like the little small kids,
Okay.
but they were going at it. It was like a team of little guys that came in, and they were going at it. I'm like, I gotta get better at this. I gotta get better. But it was just fun watching and just kind of like seeing how, like, the different competitive levels. You had some people that were there that was just
I want to see what's
uh
going on.
huh?
Well, you have or you have people who just want to see what's going on and see how they do.
Exactly. You got some people that they'll get up there and they'll shoot their 5 arrows, and they'll go drink some coffee, and they sitting there just kind of just having a good time. And then you got, like I said, the people that are, they got their spot and scope, and they're calculating like, okay, I was this far off, and it's like, I'm just here to have a good time, man, and meet some people, maybe have a burger or two.
Yeah. But it
But
is livelihoods for some people.
yes, it is, and sometimes like I don't. At my first shoot, I didn't even think about that. I was like, I didn't realize that you could go pro in this at all. I thought, like, I knew you could do like the Olympics, but I didn't know like there was like sponsorships and all that stuff. So I was like, oh, this is people feed their family off that. So I understand the
Absolutely.
competitive edge.
Yes.
Exactly. I thought it was really cool though. I got to see Levi Morgan shoot, and man, that dude is he's one of those guys that he is really, really good, but he's there with the people, man. He's there to talk and have a good time. I was like, I like this dude.
All of the pros are awesome like that.
Yeah,
Paige, Levi, Jesse, you could go up to any of them. And a lot of the times, Vegas, Reading, Rushmore Rumble, they might have a special time that the pros can go shoot by themselves, or they'll have a pro-am, or they're even just going to be out on the practice range with everyone else, and they
yeah.
don't care. They are so excited to just be talking to people. You can go ask them as many questions as you want. As long as they're not working on something, they're usually more than willing to talk to everyone and
Did you
smile. And
were you at the Rushmore Rumble?
no,
Oh, I was like, you were talking. I was like, oh, she must have been there.
no, that's just one of the big NFAA shoots.
Yeah. So, have you ever been to Yankton, South Dakota, and gone to the big NFAA big arena thing?
Mm-mm.
It's surprising. It's in Yankton, South Dakota. It's like an hour away
Uh-huh.
from where I live, and I think it's called the Easton Center. I think it's what it's
Mm-hmm.
called, Easton
I
Center.
have been to Easton Centers before. They're pretty rad.
Yeah, it's nice. And I was like, wow, I did not realize this was in Yankton, South Dakota, because Yankton is so small, but it's there. I was like, that's pretty cool.
And
I
it's
think
able
it's
to hold a lot of people.
the NFAA. I think it's like the headquarters. I think.
Hmm. Well, the NFAA, I believe he's the Vegas director, Bruce Cole, he lives up there.
Yeah, Bruce Cole's the one that runs it. Yeah.
Hmm.
See, that's weird because, like I said, you would think. So, do you know much about South Dakota?
No.
So, Sioux Falls is the biggest
Hmm.
city in South Dakota.
Right.
Yet, none of the major stuff that goes on in the state happens here. Everything's in like small towns. It's really weird.
Interesting.
Yeah, but like Mount Rushmore is out in Rapid, and Rapid is like not very big at all.
Okay.
But then you got like said down in Yankton, you got the Eastern Center.
Hmm.
Most people to this day will tell you it should be in Sioux Falls. If you go to any archery shop, they say it should be in Sioux Falls because when they have the big events, there's more hotels here, there's more stuff to
Right.
do. But it's like it's in Yankton.
But I mean, Kentucky is one of the biggest archery states. And it's like, that's weird too.
I didn't
Kentucky's
know
not
that
that,
either.
because that's where the whole Blueface, they have a lot of ASA events. It's huge for NASP, to S3DA. Kentucky is big. A lot of the East Coast states are, though.
Yeah, I did not know that Kentucky is Kentucky considered east. I
I
thought
would
Kentucky
consider it
was
East.
south, southeast,
It might
southeast.
be South.
I
I don't know.
don't
I'm from the West.
know. It's funny. I can tell what state is in based off what football conference they are in college. So if it's in the SEC, it's automatically south.
Okay. It
Oh man.
very well could be. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I could tell you all about the West Coast. And that's west of the Mississippi, but that's about it.
That's it. So, are you currently turkey hunting now?
No. I
Not
don't
not
got
not a
any.
turkey hunter.
Haven't really gotten into it. It's quite a drive for me to go turkey hunting, so a lot of my weekends are tournaments or classes, so it
I
just
got
hasn't
you.
worked out.
So, like, how is it applying for tags over in Washington? So, is it a draw, or do you guys just apply and get it over the counter? Like, how's it set up?
It depends what you're going for. If you're in a special unit or a special hunt, then yes, there's a draw. But most deer elk is over the counter. Elk, you have to decide if you're going to hunt west or east when
Mm,
you're purchasing your license, and then you have to stay on that side for the whole year. With my bow, I can only hunt during archery season unless I get a multi-season tag, but that's a special application that you have to put in for. Um, or else you have to, like, archery stays in archery, rifle stays in rifle, unless you want to shoot archery during rifle, but you can only pick your one season.
Also, you get one. You can't do like archery and rifle.
So archery, you can shoot your bow during rifle season because it's a lesser weapon, but
Okay.
you can't hunt for archery and rifle seasons unless you have a multi-season tag, which
Uh,
you have to put in for and draw.
that
Because I know
sounds.
a lot of states you can just hunt all the seasons with the different weapons, but not us.
South Dakota, we have a strictly archery season, and then you can hunt archery from September to January.
Hmm.
Then rifle starts in you get 2 weeks in November for a rifle, and then that's it. And then muzzleloader, and that's it for like modern weapons. But
Wow.
other than that,
So archery gives you a lot of time.
exactly. And we actually, well, I say we, but the residents in South Dakota basically shut down the crossbow season because they wanted to add crossbow into the archery season, and it was like a big thing. People were signing petitions, and it was it's kind of wild, but we got it knocked down. So it was like, hey, I don't know. I have mixed feelings about it. I understand if you're if you have like an injury or you're elderly, use a crossbow. But I just don't know. Is it is it is it archery or is it not archery?
I think it's very different than archery. Like shooting a compound versus shooting a crossbow. A crossbow, you can sit there and it's doing all the work for you.
Right.
So to me, that's more modern than it is archery.
So then, what about someone who would say that compound is different than longbow,
Then recurve,
the recurve?
absolutely it is. But ethically, ethically, a crossbow, you might have a better shot than a compound bow. And a compound bow, you might have a better shot than a trad bow. But for trad and compound, you're probably getting a lot closer than you have to with a crossbow. Did I say that right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, so
Yeah. I
it
think
just
like
depends.
crossbow. I've heard people taking like 100-yard shots with a crossbow. I'm like, but they also got like a magnified scope on it, so it's like
Well, they're faster too, and you're not holding it, so
you're
a
not
lot less.
holding it.
It's drawn back for you.
Oh yeah, I thought you meant
It's
like
cocked.
I got you. Boom. Yeah, I'm gonna lean and say I still don't want it part of archery season, but I don't care if people use them or not. I don't think people should ban them. States should ban them at all. But
Yeah, I could see them. It wouldn't bother me. I don't think I'd do it
yeah, it ain't for me.
as
I
long as
like
they're not out there wounding animals. But
yeah, I don't know. It's been a big thing in South Dakota. Actually, South Dakota, Nebraska, even Iowa. It's been a big thing when it comes to like compound bows. So a lot of states in the Midwest have been kind of going back and forth on do you want them? Do you want crossbows part of archery season or not? And for the most part, it's gotten shut down. But I'm pretty sure it's not a matter of if, just a matter of when
mm-hmm.
they'll finally add it to it. So
Well, it's just like
hopefully,
lighted knocks. Like they wouldn't pass lighted knocks here for forever, and
right?
then finally they did because there was
Oh,
no electronics, and now it's like, oh, it actually helps you recover the animal. Okay.
they counted lighted knocks as a part of being electronics.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Because
weird.
we're not
Now,
allowed to have any electronics on our bows.
yeah, I mean it's the same in South Dakota, but we could have lighted knocks. Like now,
We
I do
can
not
now.
agree with like, huh?
We can now, but we
Oh,
couldn't 3, 5 years ago.
I got you. It's kind of it reminds me of like you ever seen those Garmin sites?
Mm-hmm.
I thought I wanted one. I was like, oh, dang, that takes all the guessing out of it. I'm good. And then it's like, it kind of when I realized you can shoot something up to like 100 yards, it'll read. I'm like, no, because now that gives somebody the confidence to kind of reach out there and
Take a
I think
long
I can,
shot that they
I
shouldn't.
think I can hit that mule deer at 100
Right?
yards with the wind 60 miles an hour.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, it's kind of the same thing. I'm kind of glad that Boone and Crockett came out and kind of banned the smart scopes.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was pretty cool. Like I know a lot of people I know they use them and it was like, oh, it helped me shoot further. But I'm like, yeah, but that's you. You're a more responsible hunter. But for somebody just getting into it, you might with just a regular magnified scope, you might shoot 200 yards no further than that. but now you didn't pay $800 for this scope and rangefinder. Now you might think you can shoot out to 800, 900 yards. It's like, leave it alone.
Yeah. There's
Exactly.
some people that take those long shots and it's just like, nah, not for me.
Nope.
I want to make sure I'm going to shoot, I'm going to kill something. Because I shot a cow elk when I was 13, and I had a pretty far back shot, and it took a second shot to kill her. And I had to find her and stalk her, and she was bedded under a tree in the snow. And I don't know if you've ever heard an animal do a death call, but they wail when they're dying. And so she's sitting there just like crying, and I'm 13, and so now I'm just like, I can't kill her, I can't shoot her again. It's one thing when it's like alive, it's a second thing when they're bedded staring at you and you're looking into their eyes 5 yards
Right.
away and it's crying. And so then I had to shoot her at 5 yards and put her out. And I was like, I never want to be put in that situation again. I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that if I shoot something, it's not going to suffer. One shot and done.
See, I didn't know that like elk gave out death moans. Now I know bear do. Bear's like, I've heard that on like videos, but I never heard like elk do that. I didn't even know.
I mean, maybe it's not common, but mine definitely was making some kind of noise while she was dying. It was not a good one.
Right? And that as a 13-year-old and you finished the job, I was like, that would have scarred me. I know.
I mean, my dad, like, I couldn't do it right away. My dad was sitting there yelling at me, and he was like, okay, you need to do it, or I need to do it, but I can't do it, so you need to do it. Like, because he couldn't legally do it.
Right.
He's like, but, like, if you're not going to put her out, I'm going to finish her, and, like, we're going to figure this out. And I was like, no, it's fine. I got it. And you just have to take a deep breath. You have to switch your mind off, and you just have to do it. And then I remember I turned away. I couldn't look at her, and I just started crying. And I was like, that was a very emotional, life-changing experience for me.
Yep.
Because
But
taking a life, it's not easy. It is
no, it's not
hard,
easy
and
at
there's a
all.
lot of emotion in it.
And I think that's like one of the things that people who don't hunt, they don't realize that. They think that most hunters are just like ruthless, killers. We go out there and we just do it and we celebrate it. It's like, nah, it's very emotional, especially archery. Like I tell people all the
Mm-hmm.
time, archery is very intimate. To
Mm-hmm.
me, I'm wild for thinking that, but when you're
Absolutely.
in your tree stand and you know a deer or whatever you're hunting is like right underneath you at 15, 20 yards. When you're that close to animal, you can almost smell them, but you can definitely
Oh,
hear their
you can smell
steps.
them.
You can hear them chomping on the grass and everything. It's like it's I don't know, it's like I said, it's real intimate and it's something special and
Yeah. There's a connection that you don't get when you're shooting a rifle 500 yards away. You're
exactly.
right there with the animal. When an
Yep.
elk is bugling, you can like feel it inside of you.
See, I haven't heard an elk bugle like right close to me yet, so I'm still waiting for that.
Oh, yeah.
Hopefully this year.
It's a
Fingers crossed.
shiver experience. Yeah. All right, where are you going?
Well, I applied for Colorado. What did we apply? Like over towards like Colorado Springs somewhere. I can't remember what unit it was.
Okay. So
But we
I
applied
hunt
there.
66 and 67 usually is where I'm at.
66. So that's west.
I think it's like 2 hours from Colorado Springs.
How close is it
Maybe
to
I'm,
like Montrose unit? Like 60,
yeah.
62, and
Montrose is
65.
like an hour south,
See, that's where I hunted last year, 62 and 65.
north.
Yep, north. No, it's south. North of
Yes,
where
but I
you're
think it
at.
was north of where I was. Is
Yeah.
because I was trying to think of how we drove home. And we
Yeah.
drove home through Montrose.
Yep.
Okay.
So what's the name of your dad's guide service or outfitter?
He is Powderhorn Primitive Outfitters.
Powderhorn Primitive Outfitters.
Yep.
I have to check that out because I have in my mind if I do not kill anything this year hunting public land in Colorado, I'm going to an outfitter.
There you go.
Because
Sometimes
I
it's
just
so nice to have someone cook for you and horses too, and then someone to take care of it afterwards.
yep,
I mean, the public land part is fun too, finding your own stuff, but just having someone who has the knowledge of what the animals are doing in the area, that's pretty cool too. So you're not on the wrong mountain during the week or something.
exactly. Well, the spots I went to, I thought I thought it was like, hey, these gonna be some good spots, but so did 500 other people. They thought the same thing. They thought the
Yeah.
same thing. Yo,
Well, and
before
there's go ahead.
no, you go ahead.
I was just gonna say there's something about climbing, getting up above where everyone else is. And just that's what you got to do is you just have to people stop 1 to 3 miles in usually. So if you can get 5 to 10 miles in, usually that's where you lose all the people.
And I gotta keep note of that. Last year we went in blind, but this year if we get a tag, because we put in for a unit that you have to draw, so maybe we'll
Mm-hmm.
kind of get away from all the over the counter people. So hopefully we draw. If so, we get some good luck. But
All right.
before we get off, I gotta ask you a question
Okay.
or two questions. One,
Oh no.
have you ever seen anybody use billy goats to pack out elk?
Yes. Elk. I don't know if elk specifically. I've seen So Randy Newberg came up to where my dad hunts, and he uses llamas or alpacas. So
Hmm.
that was interesting. And then I have a bunch of friends that use pack goats for bear, deer, elk, everything.
I ran into a guy at the South Dakota Bow Hunters Association, and he did a whole seminar on pack goats. And I thought, man, my dad got a bunch of goats. I can I can train them. I can train them to pack it out. Then I don't even have to worry about packing them out. I just put them on my
So
goats.
I know the biggest thing with horses is getting them used to the smell of blood. And so there's some special way that they'll get rags of blood and then like put it on their nose so they can smell it. So just keep that in mind. Getting them used to the smell of blood and death is something you have to be
I
concerned
see. I
about.
didn't know that was even a thing. I thought they just like, all
Threw
right,
it on and went.
yeah, just put hey, put it on me. Let's go. I didn't know they could even smell that, or they knew what it
Oh yeah.
was.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
That's
you'll
why.
have one very freaked out animal.
Well, I guess they must. That's weird. I don't know. I didn't. I'm glad you. Like, I'm glad you put me on game.
Oh, okay.
All
What's the
right,
second question? Yeah.
last question. What is your ultimate dream hunt? You got one wish. You can hunt anywhere, any animal in the world. What are you hunting and where?
Caribou in Alaska or Canada. I just want to go on a caribou hunt up north.
You're the third person, the fourth person to say that.
But did they say that I, I haven't been in a serious relationship for very long yet, but I keep telling them, I'm like, okay, so someday if we ever get married, honeymoon is going to be going on a caribou hunt. So that I feel
No,
like I'm the only
they've
one who
all
would
said
say that.
Caribou, Alaska. It's always been Caribou, Alaska. Money. That's it.
See, I run into moose all the time in Colorado. Every day we'll see moose, and I'm like, they're cool, they're huge. Caribou look just really cool. I love their look. Did you know a reindeer is just a domesticated caribou? They are the same exact animal,
No,
but a reindeer.
Rudolph didn't have all that extra antlers.
But if you go up north, a reindeer is just a domesticated caribou. Google it because I had to because I went to a reindeer farm and I looked at the statue and I said, "Man, that really looks like a caribou." And so I Googled it and it was like the definition of a reindeer is a domesticated caribou.
So,
So
so,
I was like, well, this changes everything.
so being domesticated, does it change the way their antlers look?
Maybe after years it does.
Yeah, because I know like domestic turkeys turn white.
Some of them.
Some of yeah, and ducks. You just messed my mind up now. Now Rudolph is a caribou. He's not a white. I thought Rudolph was a whitetail.
Nope, he's big.
Oh, that's funny. That is funny. But yeah, everybody when I ask everybody that question, they've always said Alaska caribou. And don't you gotta get catch caribou on the migration, don't you?
And they're always moving.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. I don't even need to shoot it with a bow. I just want to go caribou hunting. I'm The thing is my first time I'm like I'm gonna shoot it with a rifle just so I have a better chance of getting something. Then I'll go back in the future sometime and put in the effort for a bow hunt.
Yeah. See,
But
caribou's is third on my list. I want to get a moose. I want a grizzly bear on Kodiak Island, and then
okay,
a caribou.
okay. I have no desire to go grizzly bear hunting. One of the things I always thought I wanted to do was red stag out in New Zealand, but I think New Zealand I just want to make a vacation. go
Yeah.
out there and enjoy it. Maybe someday go back for red stag. Sitka deer would be really cool. I've always wanted a fallow deer, but caribou is definitely top of my list.
Yeah, I got a hunting game. Are you a big gamer? You play any Xbox?
I have played the Cabela's Big Game Hunter. Is that what you're talking?
No, I'm talking about
Oh,
Hunter Call of the Wild.
I have not played that.
That is the video game that's the closest you can get to hunting because you got to watch the wind. You got to spray
Okay.
yourself down. You got to buy the right clothes because depending on where you're hunting, if you're wearing like windbreaker stuff, the trees
It
rub
makes
up against you.
noises.
Yep. I never even knew a
Wow.
fallow deer existed, and I spent, kid you not, 18 hours trying to hunt down a fallow deer because no, not 18 game hours, 18 real life hours because I had two missions. I had to one take a picture of a level 5 fallow deer, so I had to get close enough with my camera to take a picture with it, and then
Okay.
two, you had to kill a diamond level fallow
So
deer,
big one.
a big one, and it took me 18 hours to find it
That's awesome.
because that
Hey, it took
game
you
is
less time than real life would have.
now real life. I'd had an outfitter, we'd have pulled up on it in a truck. No, like I don't even know where can you find fallow deer. Is it New Zealand?
Down south. No, they'll
No,
have some in like Arizona.
I'm not talking about one of them game farms down in Texas, like King Ranch. I'm talking about like if I was to go in the wild, where would I find a fallow deer?
So it's basically a game farm because it's surrounded by water, but there's this cool island out by where I live, and I'm not going to tell you the name of it, but they were these two brothers, and they decided they wanted to start their own African game reserve
Mm-hmm.
out in the Pacific Northwest, and so they shipped in all of these four species of African animals. No, just deer species, not lions or anything. And then the next door island that had more people living on it because they just owned this whole island. And the people next door were like, "You can't shoot your rifles, you're going to kill all of us." So it got shut down. But all the animals are already there. So if you can find permission to go hunt there, there's no season on them because technically they're not a species here. So there's fallow deer, mouflon, and a couple other things there.
Is is this island? You ain't got to say the name of it, but is it anywhere near like Seattle?
I mean, I'm 2 hours north of Seattle.
Because I was in Seattle and I took a boat tour and we went by the island and the lady told us something about an island where there was like big rams and stuff. Ah, yep,
Absolutely, it was that one.
I know what you're talking about. I ain't gonna say no. I'm not gonna put it out there, but I
So
know
it's
what we're
funny.
talking about.
So I used to work for a whale watching company out of Anacortes.
Let me tell you, I got a story, and at this, I'm gonna let you go, and
Okay.
we done. So a couple years ago, go to Canada, right?
Yep.
Whale watching trip.
Yep.
The water was rocky, a little rocky. Should have been out there, but we're out there going to go see whales. So the boat is doing just up and down, up and down. I'm white knuckling the rails. I'm just as the boat go up, I'm jumping up with it. I feel like that was helping
Were
my
you in a
stomach.
little Zodiac?
Huh?
Were you in a Zodiac? What kind of boat were you in? Big boat, little boat?
Little boat.
Ooh.
Well, I don't
Okay.
know that because it had an upstairs, but it wasn't big. It wasn't big at all.
Okay. I worked on a 100-foot boat, so
No, it
I
wasn't
still got
100 foot.
seasick every day, but it wasn't that bad.
I don't think it was 100 foot. It might have been. I don't know. But so we go out there, we ride around, we're riding around. We didn't see one whale.
Yep.
Not one. So I gotta. So I'm now mad because I've scared myself to death. They didn't have any food on the boat, so now I'm hungry. I didn't even see any whales. I saw more seals and rams than I did whales.
Yep.
So we got done. They gave me a little. I think I got it somewhere downstairs. A little pass. It's a lifetime pass. I can go back anytime I want to see a whale.
Yep. They call them fluke passes.
Come on, what?
A fluke, like a whale fluke,
Yeah.
but it's a fluke that you didn't see anything, so it's a you get to come back for free pass.
Ah. So I asked the guy. I go, "Hey, anybody ever come back?" He goes, "Yeah, we had a guy come back. He was 82 years old."
Wow.
I guess he had came when he was like 40, never saw
Known
a
as soon as he
whale,
could get back.
and he got back. He was like 82, and he saw a whale. He was like, "All right, it was worth it." So I got it. I got that little pass like lemonade and everything downstairs. So whenever I get back up that way, I will be going on my free whale trip. And if I don't see another
Okay.
whale, I'm gonna need another flute pass.
Okay.
Right.
You don't go to Canada though. Come down and see my company.
I got you. Hey, the boat trip that I took in Seattle, we got to see the place where Grey's Anatomy was filmed, and
Yeah.
it's a whole bunch of stuff. It was nice. It's super nice. Steph, I really, really,
Yeah.
really, really appreciate you coming on and joining me today.
Thank you.
Let the dreaded Archer Nation know where they can find you on social media and all that.
All right. So I am on Facebook and Instagram under the.archer.steph. I am super engaging. I like to talk to everybody. So if you ever have any questions or you want to send me a video of you shooting for me to give you some feedback on, I try to answer everyone. I always keep my inbox empty so that way I see when you message me. Yeah. So connect with me. I'd love to start talking to you guys.
All right. Hey, I really appreciate you coming on and talking to me today. I thought I missed it. I was at work and I was like, "Hey, what time is 4:30 Eastern time?" And my buddy goes, "Man, 4:30 Eastern. They're ahead, they're ahead of us." I'm like, "Oh." So I get on Instagram, I'm like, "Oh, she said Pacific." He goes, "Oh, they're 2 hours
Yeah.
behind us."
Yeah, you're good. Perfect.
I was freaking out. I was freaking out. But hey, I really appreciate you coming on and chatting with me, and I look forward to doing this again.
All right. I had a blast. Thank you so much for having me on here.
Oh, no problem. Hey guys, if you listen to the podcast, please go over to the Instagram page and like the Dreaded Archer podcast. And this is another episode of the Dreaded Archer podcast, and we are out. Peace.